morning, everyone. Just give you a few little seconds for everyone to roll on in and jump on in. 9:30 yoga, Saturday morning. Beautiful morning to do yoga. It's so beautiful to have the opportunity, isn't it, to be able to do yoga first thing in the morning. And if you're just about to jump on, bolster and blocks is probably all that you'll need. I say that because I have titled this morning's yoga class as Happy Hips. Why? Because I'm listening to what you're telling me. And you're saying to me that your hips are getting really tight from sitting a lot, maybe not in the same kind of chair structure that you would in the workplace. So I thought, why not just do a purely hip dedicated class? It won't be an energetic class. It won't be a big flowy kind of class. So if that's what you want to do, you can certainly do that later on today. But the hip one I thought would be nice just to start to release some of the tightness that people are saying that they're experiencing. One, because they're sitting, but two, a lot of people are doing just a little bit more exercise than what they might normally be doing. So a lot of people are saying that they're walking and they might walk in the morning and they're also walking in the afternoon. And as a result, as all this beautiful stuff is, hips, hamstrings, calves, even some people are telling me that their Achilles are getting a little tired. This will happen from overuse. And just because we're not used to it and maybe we're not stretching as much as we should after those walks. So let's do some hip stuff today. And it'll be a nice sort of releasey kind of opportunity for us all. And I can see all the little names all scrolling along. So I can see you're all jumping in, which is awesome. Fantastic. We'll always start with some breath work, some pranayama. This one's not, as I said, it's not an energetic class, so if you've got any little bodies at home who want to come join you, you don't have to have any yoga experience really to do this. It's pretty slow. I know a lot of dads are having to work from home too. And even the kids can jump on this one. So we're not going to flow too quick. Sitting with the legs crossed or sitting in a seated position for breath work, pranayama. I'm about to dive a little bit deeper into pranayama. I've enrolled into a pranayama course online, of course. Hands into the lap when you're ready. Here we go with some slow breaths. You might like to keep the gaze low, or even have the eyes closed. Just start to notice the slowness that comes to your breathing as you allow each breath to gently flow in and out through the nose. Once we've got that natural rhythm to your breath, let's perhaps look at some of the qualities of your breath. Maybe its length first of all, but we just want to be mindful with this breath that we're not doing those little short puffs, what I call short shallow breathing. Be a little more mindful of the length of your breath. Taking the breath in through the nose and out through the nose. Perhaps allowing the breath to gently channel its way down towards the bottom of the lungs. What I call those lower lobes of the lung. And filling the lungs all the way up to the very top. There's actually 5 lobes of the lungs. And we want to imagine that this breath fills all of them. And on the exhalation, we want to empty all of those lobes. And like we would empty a glass, empty from the top and all the way down to the bottom. And feel the breath literally expel from the lungs. If we don't expel all of the breath, what will end up happening is that it will send us back into that short, shallow rhythm again. So here again, full breath coming in. Full and extensive breath on the way out. Really emptying. And you know, who's to choose which breath is the most important, the inhale or the exhale? No one, but let me say that if we don't expel all of the breath, then the danger of that is that it leads us to a shorter inward breath, because the lungs are still half full, say. So very, very important that we empty the lungs. That's our release. It's our toxic release. You know, anything that expels from the body, be it sweat, breath, tears, is waste. It's what we don't need. And if you join me anytime this week in our meditation, one of the meditations was about softness, softening the breath. Is it really like gung-ho, really inhale, exhale, or can we create an element of softness to our breathing, real gentleness? Beautiful. We have a rhythm now, a really beautiful melodic kind of rhythm to the breathing. It's coming on its own accord. The inhale and the exhale are equal lengths. We always want to know that our breath comes with ease. There's never any difficulty with our breathing. There's no force or strain. We start to become more alert and mindful of about to start our practice, perhaps just a simple moving of the hands and the feet or fingers and toes. Opening the eyes quite slowly. Again, keeping that softness of your gaze, and that gaze could be a low gaze, or it could even be your eyes could still stay closed. Someone was saying you can come off your bolsters if you don't need them, but we are going to do hip stretches, so some people might need even some slight elevation. Even if it's a towel, it might even be nice, or a little low cushion. The legs will stay will stay crossed. So hands will go to the floor. This is a really simple hip opener. I know we were there just before. However, we can intensify this one by that gentle walk forward here. So I was interested to hear what one of you mentioned to me this week I think it was in a text that was sent to say, I can keep my eyes closed all the way through class and still do class because all I have to do is listen to you and I know what I'm doing. And so if I cue properly, hopefully I do, then you don't really need to have a big, stark, eye gaze. You can have a very soft eye gaze and just open up the ear senses. And even if you are doing it right, if it feels right, then it is right. Because you know what I say to you, some of the things that I see when I watch class, it's like, okay. Probably wasn't quite what I was queuing for. So it really doesn't matter, because whatever pose that you go into is obviously the pose that your body is comfortable in and it's happy to be in. Always let the neck be soft here. The head hangs. This is to open up that junction there behind the back of the neck, we call the CT junction, the cervical and the thoracic spine where they meet. Stay with this and walk for me to the left. And just a little gentle twist. If we need some propping up with perhaps the hands, we can always add the blocks for the hands to rest onto. Notice that when we head around into this twist, we're watching the contact here that you might have of your right sit bone, your right bottom cheek on the mat. So soften the chest. Inhale, walk back to center. Continue to walk the hands in towards you, lifting the spine, and we will prepare to change those legs over. Heading again to the other side. Now hips are, they're buggers. They really can hurt when we stretch them in some of the stronger yoga practices. So as you know, things like head of the cow, double pigeon, all those really, nitty gritty kind of hip stretches. So I want you to know that when you're in any of our stretches, which is pretty much what the class will be today, will be all stretch based, that there will be some uncomfortableness. And if you're with me any time this week with our yin, we talk about that quite freely. Getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. Let's walk around to the other side now. So yes, there will be this feeling or sense of slight, discomfort, uncomfortableness, but I will say that, as in yin, it's not unbearable. You're not at that point where you're thinking, this is absolutely killing me. Like I'm starting to hold my breath because it's getting too strong. I'm starting to sort of wince a little bit. Then we definitely know that we've gone a little too far, or we've sat in it for a little too long. Breathe in, walk back to center. And as we do, walk the hands in. Come up, lift and stack the spine. Let's split the legs out into a nice big wide V. I'll see if I can explain to you or just justify why I'm doing some of these poses. The inner line of the leg here that we're going to work through is often tight, and we'll know that because when we come forward we'll feel it. Pop the palms of the hands here towards the floor. They don't have to be anchored, or even super happy if it's a block that you would prefer to use as we come through the front. So just that creeping or inching forward here of the hands. So my justification for this wide-legged forward fold is because these inner thigh muscles, these inner leg muscles come up and attach themselves to the pelvis, to the pelvic girdle, which is obviously the pelvis is the hip structure. So even if these guys are tight, they will play havoc with your hips, and they will also play havoc with your back, because if the hips are tight, they're going to aggravate your lower back. Let's just hang in here. We'll soften the head and the neck. We'll just allow ourselves to breathe through here. So all of these poses are slow. They're held to create the true effects, okay, to create the effect that we're after, the lengthening and the stretching and the opening up of our hip structure. take a walk from here around to the leg. Doesn't matter if it's left or right. Either way is fine. The hands will frame the sides of the foot here or the leg here. And again, as we continue to fold forward and keeping our hips back here on the mat. So again, watching that we don't let the other leg roll inwards. Okay, it still needs to be opening up. It still needs to create some stretch. It's our trunk that's rolling down and onto the thigh. Again, soft head. And always here, and this is not about the pause, but being mindful if you, if you want music, I'm going to say, I have purposely chosen not to add music to any of our classes because I can easily just put on any of my Spotify stuff or put it on. But I don't want to override my voice. And I think because you're in your home and you might have your iTunes or your Spotify or whatever you might play, it's an awesome opportunity for you to tailor your practice just to you. Come back through to the center. You might have a little set of tunes that you love that are really soft and relaxing, or you might just have a tune that you enjoy, then I think this is awesome because you can listen to whatever you want to listen to. And as I said, really tailor-make the class very specifically to you. But if you need some help read tunes, let me know. If you're on Spotify, just go and look me up, and you can follow, or you can copy any of the playlists. Come back on the inhale, walk, walk, walk. Let's sit here for one last sort of round of breaths. Let's make them 3. See if there's been any change. There's been any additional sort of release of the inner leg. And it's not just, as I said, the inner leg that will limit people saying, why can't I get down on this pose? And it can be that adductors, these inner legs, but it can also be this range here in the back. Because these guys are tight and they're going to be pulling us. They're going to stop me from coming forward. So I might be able to go forward because of my adductors might be loose, but if my lower back's really stiff, that's what's going to hold me. Okay, that's what's going to hold me back here. Good. One last big full deep breath in. Good. Use that breath out to slowly ease your way back on up here. Nice. Bring the right leg in to the inside of your left leg. So now we've got a little bit of a butterfly kind of pose going on in this leg, which we want to encourage to weight down. You'll notice it's slightly stronger if you have it closer up into your pelvis. It'll be a little easier if you have it down lower here. Run the left arm along the inside of the left leg. And then bring your right hand onto your ribs to open up. So now we're stretching down through this side hip. You'll feel it down through this right lateral side of the body. You can add on to this by increasing the length of this arm. Now, even if you wanted to use a block here, you can to lean down on, and to also, or you can bring your hand onto your head that way as well if you find that holding into it is too strong. But the extension of that arm long and rolling your chest around towards the roof and staying seated on that right side and really feeling how you can open up through that right hip. Take the breath in, the arm will go up, and when you're ready you can obviously also lift up for me from here. Take yourself from your wide leg to the other side. We'll just even up our 2 sides here. Again, if you want to use your block or a prop, this hand or elbow can rest onto it. Open up the ribs, turn them around to your roof or your ceiling, and add that long float arm if that feels comfortable. You'll notice the difference: floppy, loose, droppy arm. Not so much going on in that side. Long extended arm, yep, that's where the difference is opening up through that arm. Long, reaching out through the fingers and anchoring that hip, this time it's the left hip, downwards towards the floor. Reaching out, breathing into the more open, this more open side. Good. A few more breaths here. And then using that next inhalation, we want to reach on up and bring us back into the upright position. We've had 2 half butterflies. Let's find ourselves into full cobbler's pose or butterfly pose. And whilst we're with it, we might as well just finish off the last of this in a line here, in this seated position. You might grab those feet and hold on tight to them. As the feet press into one another, the knees draw out and the knees draw down. The long spine to start, and then the opportunity to perhaps explore that fold or hinge forward here. It's up to you if you come down through the front, but sometimes it's nice to be able to put these elbows here and weight them down onto the legs to encourage them to stay drawing down. Our body pulls forward over it, so it's as though my head is being pulled towards the front edge of, say, the mat, or I'm coming over the feet here. Feet pressing together and trunk folding forward, weighting the knees down. Take a breath in, and maybe on the breath out, see if we can fold or float a little bit further down onto the thighs. Again, keep weighting the legs down and exploring what it might be like just to assist the knees to go down towards the floor, folding forward, weighting knees down. Take a breath in, slowly lift back up for me from here. We'll find the legs swinging out to the left-hand side, and as we do, jump the left leg over the top of the right leg. We call this Lord of the Fishes, or in Sanskrit it's called Matsyendrasana. Lord of the Fishes stretches this butt here, and it does so by bringing the leg in towards you, gluing the left hip down to the floor and lengthening up through the crown of the head. So you'll notice the difference between this sunken paw posture and this tall, lifted, extended posture. The back hand behind us just assists in a twist. The stretch comes from the gluing down of the hip and this really tight tug, this guy into the chest. So even if we don't have this underside leg with us, it's really what's going on here in the leg we're holding on to. So lift through the crown of the head, breathe out as we rotate. With our next inhalation, allow yourselves to release out of that spiral, dropping our knees down, your favorite, head of the cow. Not. I think head of the cow is easier than double pigeon, personally. All right, here we go. 2 knees stacked down. Bear with me on this one. Get comfortable in the uncomfortable. Breathe through. I don't know what the, what's the word? Why the instinct wants to hold the breath when things are tough. Like even when we think I'm going to go and push that coffee table out of the way. Like you tend to go, okay, 1, 2, 3, hold my breath, push. Same thing as when sometimes when some of these poses get tough, we hold the breath. It's an interesting behavioural it's almost like an instinct. Come forward on the exhale. I have no answers for you. Chest comes. Maybe we can ask Siri. She might know. Chest onto the thighs, arms out in front. Take a walk around to your left-hand side. This will just activate a little bit more stretch over there in that side. Come back on the inhale. Slide those hands in. We're up slowly. Hang in there with me. Find eagle arm. And then just do the tricep one. Same arm, same leg. Run that hand down the back. And the spine, keep the arm in nice and snug in towards your ear. It was quite interesting. I'll tell you this story very quickly because by there people, you know I like to tell you a story. So yesterday my phone was really misbehaving and Siri came up. And I just couldn't get it off and so I started shouting at her and I swore at her. And I will not respond to that. I was like, Siri, you're doing my head in. And she didn't like me swearing at her. You know, it's too much for a good Siri sometimes. Alrighty, there we go. Those arms are also stretched. Find double pigeon, your least favorite pose. Here's your modification, foot up. And then that leg on. If you want to go the tough version. We could weight the leg down with the help of the hand. Or we could come forward, you know that too. We want to make sure again that we've got that softness to the breath. We're not holding our breath here. We know that it's a little tougher always in the leg that we have on top, so in this instance, obviously, we might be noticing it more on our left hip. Don't get me wrong, the right hip's still, you know, in the conversation as well. It's just that the left might be talking a bit louder. Double pigeon. Breathing in, walking the hands in, letting the trunk come up and lift. With this top leg, we're going to release it and find ourselves into that hurdle kind of position where we've got one leg still in half pigeon and one leg, this guy now is rotated inwards. And as a result of it rolling inwards, it's going to want to lift that hip up off the mat. Do your best to find it down onto the floor. Again, we could come through and just let elbows perhaps rest onto, say, something like a block or a bigger structure. I saw some amazing blocks the other day that one of you beautiful participants sent me through, that their husband made them. They literally looked like this, but this most beautiful wood. And they literally just looked like they were all rounded at the edges, and he said, I'll make you some blocks. Awesome. They'd be heavy, but they do the job, and they looked gorgeous. Now, as we come out of this one, we'll take that breath in. We will continue to make this a half pigeon. Basically, my front leg's going to stay the same. Rather than this guy being off at an angle, we're going to bring it out back more. So that now this thigh is similarly like this shin bone parallel to the front. You can see how we want to roll off that back here, but that's okay. Lift tall and just bring yourself over that front leg. So it's not really about that back leg at all. Okay. Yes, I'm trying to roll it down, but it's about now me, like it would pigeon, coming down towards this front leg here. And we will get to full pigeon after this. Yay, you say. So come up on the breath in, and if we find full pigeon, I'm going to swing around on my mat so I don't end up taking out the top mat. We are there. What would we, or how would we modify this? Perhaps there's a block here underneath that back hip, or even a bolster. We might prop up here as well. But what we want to be mindful of this is that we haven't collapsed down on that bottom, and that the back of my pelvis is parallel to the ceiling. And if I'm not feeling it enough in the hip, it could well be because this leg in front is not it's not opened enough. Okay, so in other words, it's down here near my thigh as opposed to up here near nearly parallel to that edge of the mat. Sometimes I have to hold it because it wants to keep sliding on me. The only way I can stay like honest in the pose is to hold it down, is to anchor it down. Sometimes I find even, like I could do this definitely without the block, but by having it there, it's really keeping me quite honest. And I know I'm not going to roll quite strong. And now as we come up, straight arms, can we bend the back leg? And if so, we might be able to bring heel to bottom. If not, let's roll over onto our side and give that same heel bottom stretch. Why are we bothering with the quads? Well, the fronts of those thighs come up here and attach to the hip. So hips don't always have to be bums related. It can be very much, what instigates all the hips is all the muscles that lead up and into it. Good, now just release that leg. What we'll do is we'll drop on the bum and swing the other leg around and through. It'll take us into a hamstring stretch on the side. We haven't done it. I know we haven't done the other one yet. Let's go inhale, exhale over. Because we still want to open up through the hammies. Because they pull on this. And we know that the hamstrings, you can feel them. They come and insert on the sit bones of the pelvis. Chest to thigh, soften into it, head to ankle. Take a breath in, let the chest come up and lift. Bring the right leg over the top of the left. We'll find the easiest version of our glute stretches in terms of ankle, dropping those legs over each other, bum down, Lord of the Fishes, leg in, lift tall, rotate on that exhale. Good. Use that back hand to take the twist slightly deeper. Come out of it as we inhale, that unspiraling and lowering of the knees to head of the cow, propping if we need it, finding any little opportunities to still be in the pose but not feeling like it's excruciating, or I talked about that unbearable. Lead with the sternum, the heart, and come forward here. Because we're also doing things like arms, I guess it almost detracts from the work that we're probably feeling inhaling when you're ready to come up here. But again, if as we still got our little tricep stretch, but if it's really becoming unbearable, start to ease off that top leg. Bring the arm to run down the length of the spine, so my forearm's trying to run parallel to the spine. We want to also watch with this one that it doesn't tip us forward. So sometimes when those triceps are tight, we can't get the arm in, we try and tip forward to be able to get it. The integrity of the pose comes from us being very upright in our spine, and therefore being also very lineal with this arm as well. Great, release arms, double pigeon, arm, underside leg scooted out, top leg, bring it either on top or lock it. Don't feel obliged to have to do the same version on the two sides. Good. And just sitting in it and getting square and balanced, and feeling the body soften into it. Knowing that obviously if you would like to come forward, always do so with a nice long back as opposed to that hunched over rounded spine. Again, leading with the heart coming through the front. Another 2 breaths here. Really release on that exhale, really soften that grip, the hold, a little death grip, that holding on here. Use your next inhalation to lift and release the leg, and we've got our hurdle. Swing it round. Notice that if we are going to choose to come forward, we don't compromise the attachment of our sit bone there down onto the floor, coming forward, but we're keeping contact. Perfect. Come up on the inhale. We release this back leg slightly further so it finds us into our half pigeon. come square those shoulders up and find that fold here. So we're not coming out on an angle, we're literally coming as we would into our full pigeon, trying to come here to the front. So let's say that you find this so much more pleasing, shall I say, to your left hip as opposed to pigeon, then stay in at this kind of pose. If you find that when you start to add out that back leg that it becomes too strong or that you can't keep, let's say this shin parallel, then a half pigeon is awesome. Alrighty, half pigeon, full pigeon, if we wish. Offer that hand there to hold the leg down. Come through the front here. Perhaps turn the toes under on that back long right leg. Can we walk the leg further out back? Use the breath in to prop up. If we'd like to do a heel bottom, a quad stretch, then collect the leg or roll over onto your side and give me same idea, same heel and bottom. Watch the hips don't want to rotate here, so they may want to open up. We want to close them down towards the floor, really point the right hip down to the mat. Release, come through. If we swing a straight-legged hamstring stretch, a little half cobbler on the other side. When we rise, we inhale and we lead the chest on our exhale. Perhaps pulling back the toes and pressing out and away through our heel. Come up on the breath in. Walk the feet in. Have the soles of the feet flat onto the floor. Cross your right leg over your left leg for me here. Come back just with the hands. It's going to balance you. Doesn't matter what the hands necessarily look like in terms of are they pointing forward or back. Roll the two knees down to the right edge of your mat. Once we've got them down towards the mat, walk the hands in, sit more upright. Knowing that our left hip wants to lift off the floor, or left glute wants to lift off the floor, try and work it down, not too hard, because you can feel it is quite strong, quite deeply there into the piriformis. You might even twist on this one if you could rotate your shoulders to the left on this. Perfect. Come back on the breath in, square shoulders up, roll the legs through, cross the ankle now onto the knee. We know this as our figure four or sometimes a thread needle kind of action. Hands come through, we collect the shin, we draw in, and we keep the knee opening. Your right knee is working itself away from your body, opening up through our right hip. Come away on the breath in, switch the legs so that your left gets to cross over your right. Once again, we've got the drop, the walk in and propping up, the active working down of the sit bone towards our mat without twisting to this right side now. Square up on the breath in, move onto our thread the needle or our figure four, come through, collect the shin. You could do this on your back, absolutely. Okay, so if you think, you know what, I find it really hard doing it like this and I feel like I want to wobble around, literally just go and lie down on the spine and you can take exactly the same hip stretch. Ease it slowly back off and release those two legs. Swing around for me to find yourself into cat-cow. This one I would like to maybe change it up a little if you want to think of like your hips swinging a bit like making it like a big smiley face. And then maybe even a bit of like a figure eight kind of action. This is more that whole mobilization of hips. So hips need to, they need to move, they need to be mobile. And mobility is, often comes through the more, what will I call them? They're basically ligaments and tendons. I guess we'd call them more of the intrinsic kind of structures, and when those ligaments and tendons are tight, then it will affect your mobility as well. Good. Take a side to side look here, right to left, as though you've got that little waggy tail. Awesome, one more each way. Perfect. Come on up, step through. You might need blocks for our crescent pose here, so back leg is angled, front knee stacks over the ankle, and that angular spine here, angular back leg is what creates that hip flexor stretch. So if you've been watching some of the yoga videos or joining me in them, which I know you have been, we get these regular little commentaries that I have no control over. And this is the lifeguards telling the people, don't congregate here, move along, read the signs, don't sit on the beach, don't sit on the seats, because the orange netting over them is not enough of an indicator that you're supposed to not be sitting on them. I feel so sorry. I feel so sorry for them. Alrighty, let's go. Same arm or same elbow onto the leg. Raise the other arm. So it would be the left arm going up. The right hand is balancing us. You can see how much different it is when we're down here. The stretch isn't so obvious, but start to notice when we're more upright. You can even use your blocks to do that. My chest lifts off. It pulls and it creates this length right through the front body line. So you don't have to have, so the purpose of the blocks here is to keep us balanced. You could still go into crescent, you can still tilt back here. You just don't have to worry about losing your balance. And it can, like I said before, about creating that authenticity and of a pose, and that being what I sometimes say is being honest in the pose. It's a really good way of doing that. Good. Now, notice the difference when you lean back down through the front, not so strong, then you can push out and back from here. Let's switch the legs, everyone. Ooh, that was strong on that side. Here we go. Frame that foot first of all. It's nice to prime the body so then it's not shocked when you start to take it into more of a, a deeper version. And sometimes I would call it like layering rather than like, banging straight into boat pose or something. And take our time, and we're working to it gradually and get everything used to where it's going to be, and then all the right muscles will do the job properly rather than other ones trying to come and help out. So our progression from here is to get off this thigh, be it with one hand or two hands or blocking. It could be the arm if you wanted to. So it's always the arm and the leg, obviously, making that line. It's the extension back too. You can see that we've got this real, hence its name, crescent shape, crescent of the moon. If you've got this extension, you'll also notice the opening of the throat. All those muscles down through the throat. People don't realise is how much, bring that head back up and square off, how much that we use, even things like throat muscles. Talking or just by having to hold this little noggin up. Lounge lizard. We don't have to bring it through down dog. We can step it out to the side so it always goes on an angle. The angle of the foot is the same angle as the thigh. We could do it as a bent leg. We could do it as a long leg. The lower we go, the stronger this one is. I might show you the front one. I like to roll out on that knife, what I call the knife edge of the foot, because it also gives me this openness here at the hip. So if I roll it in, I tend to want to roll my knee in, but if I roll out on the knife edge, it's going to open up this hip. If you think about that structure, the seam line of the pants, it's butterfly pose. It's that wide leg out on the big V pose. So come in, prop up if need be. Back leg long or straight, up to you. It's what feels right. As we come out of this one, just use your inhale to pop the hands fully onto the floor. We will do the same quad stretch, but this time it's a little different to pigeon. It's the opposite hand. You'll notice it's slightly different because we also then drop the shoulder and we rotate with this one. It's really deep. Releasing the foot, pulling back out, switching the sides, step, angle. Drop, straight leg out back or bent leg up to you. Straight leg, bent leg. Knife edge if we feel there's inner leg can support any more opening here. Easing the knee back down towards the floor, walking the hands in opposite hand holds to the leg. Come find it. Sneak the leg in if it's too far away from you as well. Drop the shoulder, twist into it. Perfect. Release the hold of the leg. Ease back. Bring the knees back together here. We are going to come down towards the floor. I want to give us a little bit more of this hip flexor release. We'll do that by using any props that you may have. It could be bolster blocks I saw some ingenious bolster making. We're going to take bridging with blocks, so a restorative version, as we head back up into either 1, 2, little double up version, tip toes. Too high for me. All right. Bridging. You can already feel the start of that stretch over the hip flexors. One thing with bridging, and when you are propped up, obviously your head has to be onto the floor, but so too do your shoulders. You don't want to be like this. You don't want to have lifted that far up that your shoulders aren't on the floor. So try to make sure that when you get the elevation that there is still that contact here, and walk the legs slowly forward. So again, as I said, you could use a bolster underneath here. It basically, you can see what we're doing. We're just trying to put the pelvis into elevation. So whatever structure does that for you. Arms can be, as they would in bridge, tucked under. So someone had posted for me that they'd made a little bolster structure out of their, like say their yoga. They've had like a yoga mat bag. Those cylindrical bags, and they just stuffed it with, I guess, towels and bits and pieces to make it into a bolster, which I thought was awesome. And they had like a little ballet bag that they had previously as well, which was so gorgeous. But I saw a post this morning on yoga, like one of the yoga teachers' pages, and one of the ladies was making them out of, I didn't see it all, but out of beach towels. She was rolling them up and making a structure. So we can get creative. Just if we don't have any props, it's okay. If you don't want to get creative and you want a bolster or you want some blocks or you want a strap, I've got new eye pillows that have just been made. Let me know. There's still a few bundles left at work. Walk the feet in, lift up, and we're just going to ease very, very slowly back down. If you want a new eye pillow that we just made the other week, I have them for sale too. They're $15 just if you want one. So we'll just say, I really want an eye pillow, I want a lavender eye pillow. Bring the left, or right knee I should say, into the chest. Lengthen out that back again. Primarily because they're not easy to get. Not good ones made out of lavender. Let's switch that side over. And just give that length back into the back. Even though we were stretching out through these hip flexors, because we took the back into that curve, it needs to be re-lengthened back out again. Keep hold of this knee, grab it with your right hand, see that little roll over to the side. Here you'll start to feel that really deep glute stretch here. Support this leg if it needs it. And keep those shoulders on the floor. Bring the knee back into the center. Switch it. Ease it across the body over the other side. Bringing the head when you're ready slowly back to the center. Knee in, foot onto the floor, both feet back onto the mat. We're going to take a lying head of the cow in this next one because for some people it's much more achievable than, let's say, so we'll go left leg over right, then a sitting version. because you could either do it as these two as you would go down and grab the ankles, or you could do it as a half version. So I could dump the left leg and right leg, I should say, and to deal with the left leg. Okay, so whatever it is, top leg, whatever it might be. Foot gets always gets pulled up towards us, so say towards our armpit, and the knee is always working away. In other words, yes, I can see how I'm exposing more of that seam of my trouser and opening up through the hip. Left bottom cheek stretches down to the mat, the end of the mat. We make sure that the whole pelvis is not twisted out. We can talk about that authenticity and integrity of the pose. We're better off to, as I said, dump one leg and just make sure that the other leg is doing it properly. Perfect. Release. Switch it. And off we go, second side. So we've done literally an hour of stretching these hips. These back end poses should seem pretty easy. Well, she says, should seem less restrictive than when we started. That's probably the best choice of word. Keep them crossed, but just lower the feet down to the floor. We did this one sitting as well. The knees dropping down to our right hand side. Slightly different though. So remember how I said to you, we dropped them down, we walked our hands in, we sat more upright, and I asked you to try and roll your bottom down to the floor, and it was definitely more of a stretch into the glute. This one, you can feel more over the joint right at this front part of this hip here, that first part of the rim. But in saying that, it's really important to think of being posturally correct in this, which would be left shoulder staying on the floor whilst our knees draw or roll to the right. Good. Roll them back to center. Let's do the same one we did sitting, ankle at the knee. How this one can be different in a lying capacity is the fact that I'm not being sort of thrown back and I have to keep my structure, which I have to rely on my core to do. When I do it here on the floor, we tend to be more stable because of the back being supported, but we could also free up the other hand. This is right hand, and we could open up the hip more by using the hand or the elbow. My left hand's still holding on to this, but I could also butt into a wall. We've done this before as well, and use the same idea. Switch the legs, ankle at the knee. If you are using the wall and you find it hard to collect the legs because maybe the back's tight and you lift up and you're always using your head and your neck, the wall is awesome for this. Because you can really keep yourself very square and then open up this hip. Perfect. Release the feet down to the floor. Find a lying butterfly pose now. And it's very interesting noticing the differences between a seated version of it and a lying version of it. Here again, obviously we've got gravity weighting those legs down. We have to now find a neutral structure in our torso. The back may want to arch in this one just to tip the pelvis forward to ease out this groin stretch, knowing that if we replace those ribs back onto the floor and we can still weight the knees down, it can be a slightly different effect in the stretch. So we've loosened and opened up inner leg adductors, abductors, the outside legs. We've released the glutes and the piriformis muscle, which is that deeper muscle right near the bone. We've released our hip flexors, the ones through the front thighs. We've released quads and hamstrings. So we've done quite a lot of muscles. As I said, the reasoning why I would give you the reasoning behind all of our stretches, or the justification, is because all of those muscles come up and attach in some way, shape or form to the pelvic girdle. And they can all be responsible for that the tightness of the hips. Now as we come to close, hands underneath the backs of the legs, assist the knees to come back in and together here. Let's just do one last one. Widen the feet out to the sides and let your knees knock together. And just what the therapeutics behind this, and you can go wider. They can be wider than that if it's comfortable. What is actually happening in this instance, the pelvis, the front of the pelvis is actually closing in. You can probably guess that because the knees are closing in. So therefore the back of the pelvis is spreading out, it's opening up. So this can give some people great relief in that sacroiliac joint, what we call the SIJ. And when we were to bring these legs in, I would duck waddle. Yeah, I mean, just because I don't want to do any straining of lots of ligaments down there and tendons. Get ready to prepare for Shavasana. Oh, you've had a cruisy class today. So if you wanted to do something a little more energetic, all you've got to do is flip through the page. You go up to the topics section. If you're on your phone, it'll be like right in the middle of the screen. If you're on your laptop, it'll be down in one of the side panels. Go into topics and you can choose any class by its name. It'll say in. Click on it and all the in videos will come up. If you click on the flow class, all the flow classes will come up there. Okay, it's like an index. And you can find your classes in a second. Settle into the body, softening into your mat. Just letting go. Our recalibration, our reboot happens here. We revisit that beautiful, slow, rhythmical breath, where each breath is the same length. We take this opportunity to use the exhalation for its intended purpose, the letting go, the shedding, the emptying, it's that dumping, getting rid of anything that the body no longer needs. This could be any physicality, tightness, tension. We can breathe it out and breathe it away. And it could be on a mental or an emotional level where, I don't need to feel like that anymore. I don't need my mind to be thinking those thoughts or feeling those
emotions, whatever it might be. We can just breathe them away. We can let them go. Taking a moment to start to bring your attention back to being more observant of the sounds perhaps inside and outside. You could maybe move our feet, our hands. And come around and allow yourself just to roll and be on your side here. Stay caught up. As we come up into sitting, just let the hands press down into the floor and come up slowly. Remember I talked about that soft gaze at the beginning of class, keeping the gaze low and still keeping the mind less active. And as we come and meet and we close and we seal class, and we give thanks to one another in the use of the word namaste, the honouring of the divine light in you and me. Gently bowing, finishing class with namaste. Namaste. So here ends Saturday yoga. Here ends yoga for the week. However, the beauty of having, as I said, the topics and having this page is that if you feel like tomorrow you want to do a practice, then you can scroll through and choose a class
that you like. And I've seen people do that because they've commented on the classes, they've finished it, and they've finished it 2 or 3 days after it was delivered live. So feel free to do as many classes as your body feels comfortable with. Send me some pictures if you would like to, because I'd love to see your little studios that you have at home, or you doing a little bit of yoga, or you and the family doing some yoga. It would be beautiful, because I don't see anything. You guys get to see me in my house. I'd like to see what you guys are doing in your house too. Have a gorgeous Saturday. It was awesome. Did you hear the waves crashing? The tide must be getting really full, because I could hear lots of crashing of the waves. Enjoy the sunshine. Go out and get some beautiful vitamin D today. And until Monday night, 6:15, I will sign off. We'll have a day of rest tomorrow, and I will see you come Monday. Take care.